Hi, my name is Amanda Rocha. I am an estate planning and probate attorney in California, and today I'm going to answer some frequently asked questions about trusts. Before I get into that, I want to give you my contact information so you can ask your questions or create a trust. You can find me on my website, www.amandarocalaw.com. You can comment down below if this platform allows you to do so, or you can find me through social media at Amanda Rocha Law. So let's just jump into the frequently asked questions. First, why do I need a trust if I have a will? Excellent question. So every person should have a will once they become 18. A will does not preclude you from having a trust. In fact, if you have a trust, you need a will as a backup in case your trust fails. But do you necessarily need a trust if you have a will? No. So a trust is used to not only plan for your incapacity, which a will cannot do, but a trust allows for you to basically hold your property for a longer amount of time for someone than a will would. Also, it avoids probate. Anything put in your trust is not going to go through the court system in order to be distributed to the beneficiaries. And that's huge because probate can be long, expensive, and frankly frustrating and bring up some feelings for people as they're grieving. And so avoiding probate is really the biggest reason why people have a trust. But the answer is a trust and a will are different documents, and not everybody needs a trust, but you do need both. If you have a trust, you need a will. You don't need both necessarily. But what I'm saying is if you have a trust, you have to have a will as well as a backup. But if you have a will, you don't necessarily need a trust. It depends on what you own. Next frequently asked question is, do you need to actually own a piece of real property in order to have a trust? No, not at all. You don't have to be a homeowner or a commercial property owner or anything like that to have a trust. As long as you have something that you are funding the trust with, it could be $10 worth of something, then a trust will work for you. It just needs to be properly funded, and you have to have proof that it's funded, and that's pretty easy to do as an estate planning attorney to do that for you. But the beauty of the trust, as I said before, is that it will avoid probate, and you can hold property in trust for people longer than you could through a will. A will is basically going to be distributed as soon as the probate procedure is finished, or if there is no probate procedure, immediately. A trust, you can hold it for someone until they're a certain age or meet a certain requirement, or provide for someone as needed, that kind of thing. So no, you do not have to own real property to have a trust. Next, who can I have a joint trust with? I get this question more common than you would think. So first of all, you can only have a singular will. You cannot have a joint will with anybody. But for trusts, you can have a joint trust with your spouse only. It cannot be a girlfriend-boyfriend situation. It needs to be someone that you have a registered domestic partnership with, or it needs to be your spouse by marriage. Nobody else. You can't have a joint trust with a sibling or a parent or anything like that. Another common question that I get is, why should a trustee, or who should be a trustee, and is a professional fiduciary better as a trustee? So it's a two-parter. Who should be a trustee? I have blogs and videos and podcasts about this. So if you want a more detailed explanation, you can check those out. But basically, someone who has the ability to understand legal documents and is okay standing in your place for potentially many years on end, and who is a neutral person who isn't going to be necessarily a beneficiary, although that happens all the time. If you have a contentious situation in your family, then having a neutral person is nice because they aren't going to be accused of anything necessarily. Having a lawyer or a CPA, if you have a family friend or a family member that's maybe not going to be inheriting anything from you, that's highly recommended. Now, you could hire a professional fiduciary. The problem is They have a lot of specific rules and you don't know them and they don't know you. And so intent can be a little fuzzy sometimes. And they're going to charge more. Now, if you have a trust, the trustee by law can get a reasonable amount. And yes, that's what it says in the law, a reasonable amount to be your trustee. And it's the same reasonable for a fiduciary. However, a professional fiduciary is most likely going to have lots of documentation saying, this is what I get on a normal basis, and take you to court and do all those things. Whereas another person might think a different amount is reasonable, honestly. So there are positives and negatives to having a professional fiduciary. They know what they're doing. You're not going to have to consult someone on the outside, an attorney or anything like that. However, it can be more cold, it can be more monotonous, it could be less easy, especially if the trustee is going to be someone who provides funds or assistance to someone on an as-needed basis. Final question that I have is, do you need to have a lot of money to have a trust? No, you don't have to have a lot of money at all. I mean, just enough to fund the trust, which is $1, really. No, a trust isn't necessarily just for money. It could be to leave, it could be to discuss what happens when you're incapacitated primarily, unless you anticipate one day owning property and you don't now. It could be for information about how to handle the what you do have for your minor children if something were to happen to you. So no, you don't need to have a lot of money. There's a lot of things that a trust does outside of basically handing over property and money to people. If you have any questions, please contact me through my website, www.amandarochala.com. You can comment down below if this platform allows you to do so, or you can find me on social media at Amanda Rocha Law. Thank you.